Hello and welcome to Walking the Earth podcast. I'm Mike Margulies in Chiang Mai, Thailand, joined today by James Atkinson. James.
Hi, Mike.
Welcome aboard, man.
How are you?
We met last night, had a pretty interesting evening.
It was a good first evening.
Rented out a red taxi, and took it around town, an impromptu little party bus, you could call it.
Basically the back of a pickup truck.
Yeah. And I guess this morning now we're talking politics.
Quite a relevant start actually last night, because the fact that we were in a back of a pickup truck driving around drinking from a big bottle of Thai whiskey was part of the reason that we're actually here, because the election's on today.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they actually banned the sale of alcohol in all the bars and all the 7-Elevens yesterday because of the election today.
You got all the places closed, no alcohol, except for on that party bus.
Yeah, we had to improvise, and so a group of, a dozen of us, we just rented out a red pickup truck taxi thing, brought our own alcohol on board, and drove around Chiang Mai on a bar on wheels.
Prohibition.
And then today's the election, the big day, and all the news is going on about all the tension that's mounting here. And you're on the way back home to Bangkok.
Yeah, I know. Probably not the best flight to be on. I actually got a very cheap flight. No surprise there.
No surprise, yeah.
Go to a war zone. It's never expensive. But let me just break down what's actually going on these days, because we have two sides to this story. You have a few months ago, the current government party, the Pheu Thai party, wanted to pass a law called the Amnesty Bill that would basically grant amnesty to...
let's actually go way further back, I think, and go the more background, because I don't think many people even know all this.
This kind of starts with a guy called Thaksin Shinawatra, who's like a multi-billionaire private business owner who went into politics, won about 10-15 years ago with a landslide vote, and really helped make life easier for people who were on a lower income in terms of tax laws, health, and just general day-to-day life. He built airport, he built a lot of really big infrastructure in Bangkok, and he was there for so many successful projects that were seen by the international community as successes. Meanwhile, he got extremely rich himself, and I think he cut a few corners.
So he did a lot of good things for a lot of people, but made himself rich in the process.
Yeah,
and so people raised an eyebrow to that.
Yeah, it's kind of like he was very helpful and he did a lot of great things, but he lined his own pockets in the process. So is that corrupt? It was deemed so. There was a warrant for his arrest, and his party was banned for 5 years, so he couldn't have the Pheu Thai party for 5 years. So right now he's actually on the run from the evading arrest, and I think he's in Dubai and he's traveling around other countries. But the juicy thing, the interesting thing, is that right now is after the ban on the party lifted, his sister got elected, and now his little sister, is prime minister.
Yeah, to me that's just. And I actually, it's funny. I've been here a while, and today actually I finally got myself a little bit more educated on the political situation, and it was so almost mind-blowing to me to think they had a political coup, a military coup, right? Was it 5 years ago, to get this guy out of power, and then lo and behold, they elect his sister as the new prime minister. So obviously they're talking, and it's
the fact that the party was just so popular. It just won the vote with a landslide again. Even though he was, made a few wrongs, people obviously didn't care so much.
Right. So people just say they don't care he's making money, he's corrupt. It's making their lives better. So they still...
obviously people care, but mostly it's the middle class, the people who didn't benefit hugely from him. So what you're seeing now is the majority of the protesters since November have been middle class Bangkok people, not the working class people. It's been quite middle class people.
So actually, and this isn't really... It's a weird question to ask, because here the political spectrum's completely shifted from, say, like the Western world. But it is the more, you'd call it the righter-leaning, more conservative party that's the one protesting, I think. But still, but they are still what we would associate in, say, the United States as Democrats. But this is my understanding that someone told me, at least. So who's in power is the party in power now is very, very liberal, and then it's the not as liberal party, but also still liberal, that's protesting. I don't know. The whole frame is probably off anyway. It's also not the issue.
You have two groups. You have the what they call the yellow shirts and the red shirts.
Right.
And the yellow shirts are protesting. The red shirts are pro-government supporters. And the yellow shirts basically want reform. They want to see laws changed, and they want to see the new government step down, and for there to be an interim kind of a ruling committee of people who will oversee the government until they can arrange what they consider a democratic election.
And that's an interesting thing too. So they're trying to stop the elections, the democratic elections, so that they can
make the reforms before the next election.
But who puts the people? And then the question is, well, who's going to put those people in charge?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And they're just saying, "Oh, we get to choose," basically. It's a complex issue, though, right?
It just goes on and on. And
it's because both sides. You were even telling me before, even the opposition party that's claiming we need to do this because it's so corrupt. Yeah. They are also corrupt or have been accused of corruption.
Yeah, the Sutep was not exactly uncorrupt in the last few years, and now he's the very man that's leading the opposition against corruption. But in fairness, I think corruption sort of seeps into most political arenas. Well, the fact that they're having a discussion about it, that there's so many people protesting about it, that it actually gets put on the table and discussed rather than covered up.
Yes.
The fact that they actually have an election commission that is so determined to be democratic that they're spending $115 million US just to run the election. An election which will not produce enough MPs to convene a sitting of the House of Representatives. They're so hell-bent on getting democracy, happening and doing it properly, that they're willing to do that for the sake of democracy.
And I think that's also...
Which is a good indicator of
what we were saying before was, I would say in the United States, for example, it is just as corrupt as it is here. The people at the top of the U.S. government are absolutely, no question about it, making money off of political decisions they make, making money for their friends, and sometimes you call them campaign contributions, getting whatever it is. There's so much corruption in Western politics, but like you were saying, right, it's just more covered up. I would say at least here, it's much more transparent. People are aware of it. There's just as much corruption. I think, like you said, right, all political arenas are going to have this corruption. At least in Thailand, they're having an honest discussion about it, and it's on the table like, hey, look at this corruption.
In 2007, there was a democratic charter drawn up, and it was actually drawn up by the democratic-led government. So it was the guys who are protesting now. They made a charter to say this is how we should do democracy, this is how the election should happen. They set up an election commission to ensure fair voting will happen, democracy is upheld. And it's the very people that created that document that are now sort of going against it.
Yeah,
they've surrounded polling booths. It's very, if I was a voter and I wanted to go and cast my vote, I actually would go along and I would see hundreds of people, thousands of people standing there saying this is bad, you shouldn't do this. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't walk into them and say I want to vote so badly I'm risking injury. So for that reason, it's another element to the story.
And also. I have so many thoughts on this. All right, so the opposition leader, I read something today about how he has actually been encouraging people to do peaceful protesting, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, he's still saying...
Well, publicly he says that, right?
True. Yeah, so there's questions about that, because he is still encouraging the protest. It's a very...
I think it's a better other around if there's no violence. And obviously he's going to stand up and say, guys, but what he has said is, if they come for us, sit down and pray. And if they charge in, stand up and leave.
No, that's a good message.
But then again, there's people that are so passionate about it. I mean, I've seen for the last 3 weeks, people have taken over major junctions in Bangkok. They've put up tents. They have stalls there. It's like they have music. They have bands.
Yeah, actually, yesterday there was all this music in the street. I thought it was for the Chinese New Year. They're out at 8:30 in the morning. There was all this banging of drums and stuff and parades in the streets. And I was thinking, oh yeah, it's still Chinese New Year. But no, apparently it was a protest, and I had no idea. It seemed like a celebration to me.
I'm pretty sure that was a pro-vote protest.
Was it a pro-vote protest?
Yeah.
Or pro-vote discussion or whatever. It wasn't even a protest.
The north and northeast
support thing.
Yeah, north and northeast of Thailand will be very supportive of the vote of the government.
Okay, so in this area in Chiang Mai, it's supportive of the current.
Mostly, yeah. Down the south, however, at the moment there's terrible things going on. You have two elements. You have the vote, which is meaning that 9 of the I think 15 voting provinces in the south had to be closed because it was just unfeasible. There were too many protesters. At the same time, the government has a rice scheme that they brought in, and it was one of their flagship policies when they got elected. And basically, they owe Thai farmers billions of baht, and the Thai farmers don't know when they're going to get paid, and the payment date has been deferred a couple of times.
Wow.
So the Thai farmers want to get paid. They want to know when they're going to get paid, so much that they've actually roadblocked a road to the south.
Wow.
Which is a big pain in the government's back.
Hy aren't they paying them though, right? Because you were saying the guy who's the guy who was ousted from power, who supposedly is pulling the strings of his sister, who's the current prime minister. This guy is loaded with trillions of dollars?
Trillions of baht anyway.
Trillions of
Definitely
baht.
Billions of dollars.
Billions of dollars. You would think. And you were saying before, if this guy just gave money to these farmers, all of a sudden all is forgiven almost, you would imagine.
Yeah. It's according to this Bangkok Post article, there's farmers from about 6 provinces that have blocked the road, and the current government doesn't actually have enough money and can't raise the funds. So state and private banks have both refused to lend because of the risks involved. So it doesn't look like these farmers are going to get paid so much. Now,
wow.
the terrible thorn in the side of the government is that, according to this article, it was one of the government's showpiece policies, is rice pledging, and they actually have losses of hundreds of billions of baht from the scheme, and millions of tons of unsold, overpriced rice are deteriorating in warehouses
Holy crap.
around Thailand. It's kind of a big failure, so a lot of pressure on the government at the moment, and they're still pressing ahead with this vote.
And what are they trying? I mean, do they have a solution in mind, or I guess maybe they're trying to figure it out themselves?
Well, democracy isn't always easy.
Yeah,
we take it for granted.
This
is a country that's standing up for democracy. It's trying to do it right. People don't like it. They want to see change happen before democracy.
Yeah.
And there's no way telling which way it's going to go. But they've learned from the past. It's got violent before.
And actually, there has been violence, but I would say relative to political revolutions in human history, this has been a very tame sort of thing,
But you have to see the significance of the internet in this.
Oh yeah.
Any move that someone in Thailand makes, it's instantly seen around the world by their allies and their enemies. And I see everyday articles saying, US condemns violence, and UN pleads with Thailand not to get violent, So anything that happens is definitely being watched by the international community.
Right.
And in all the speeches, they're referencing back, how can we stand to be a major player in the international community if we can't uphold democracy in our own country? And that obviously has an effect on what they do and how they act.
And I think you're right. The increased visibility of every action means that people have to constantly be aware and thoughtful of how is this going to be perceived, how is this going to affect our support. I think in some very beautiful way, and definitely in a very beautiful way, the internet has maybe made things more peaceful just because of the fact that there's this increased awareness in the world. It's more difficult to get away with things that aren't true. Although there's also at the same time going to be some element of spinning. There's a lot of people spinning, trying to make themselves look good and make other ones look bad. So that also, of course, comes into play. Yeah. Another thing that you said earlier that I found really also very interesting was the opposition party, the leader, was also accused of corruption, and his response was, "Yeah, but I'm less corrupt than the people in power now."
Yeah.
That's also.
That is the way it is, He was accused of corruption. He's trying to do something better. He's the leader they have.
Right.
That's just the way it is, what I mean?
I think it all comes back to me. It comes back to the fact that at least this conversation is happening. Yeah. Why aren't we having a conversation in the United States about corruption? Yeah. And other Western countries, there is obvious corruption all over the place, and we're simply just not having this conversation. We keep our heads in the sand, and we just act like it's not happening, you know. And at least here, you know, and to the eyes of a Westerner or to an American, they look at Thailand and they're saying like, oh my God, it's such a terrible situation right now. And actually, to be honest, I think that if you look at what's actually happening, it's a kind of a beautiful situation. The fact that the conversation, like, what is the conversation about? It's all in the name of a more pure form of democracy with less corruption, and that's what the conversation's about. And I think maybe that's what we shouldn't be. Yeah, we shouldn't be and everyone's focused on the negatives. Like, look at all this protesting and violence in Thailand, and let's talk about the fact that they're having conversations that need to be had in the world. And maybe in some ways, Thailand's a leader in what politics will become.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty good. I don't want to keep. I know you have to get a flight though, right, to Bangkok. So
I'm on a flight back there. I'm gonna be going in there to a war zone.
Yeah, you're going right in there.
I'll go to the airport and then I'll try and find some generous taxi man who can drive around the danger zones.
Yeah.
To my little my bunker.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lay low. You know, I got lots of tins of processed foods, so I can hold out for at least 3 days.
Oh, you got it. You have your zombie survival kit.
I have chicken fillets in the freezer. Condensed milk. Case things get really bad.
And actually, you know what? Maybe I should have been. No, it's okay. We didn't get to this in the beginning because there was a more pressing, interesting issue, which is the politics. But what you're doing is actually also interesting in its own right, because you're from Ireland. As maybe you can tell from his accent.
I'm not a political commentator, but I've been reading the news, and we were discussing this, and it's fantastic.
And you're working in Bangkok.
That's what they put me.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's also interesting. A whole different subject.
I come from a small town in Ireland, and for 20,000 people.
Yeah.
I wake up, it's 28 degrees, and I turn off my air conditioner, and I leave my apartment to work in one of the most exciting cities in the world.
Yeah, and you're working for Jameson.
That's right.
All right.
Top of the morning to you.
I mean,
love the Irish accent you stuck on there.
Top of the morning to you. You know what? I think you were right earlier though. The luck of the Irish is rubbing off on me because I dropped this laptop from a floor up this morning. Just dropped it down a full, not like.
I said a prayer for you.
Yeah, and it's still working.
I put a coin in the fountain for you.
Thank you so much. I mean, that was beautiful.
No problem at all.
How long have you been living in Thailand now?
About 5 months now.
5 months, sweet man.
Yeah, and I can speak Thai very good.
So you just kind of got.
Sawadee Kap.
Yeah, I can say two things in Thai now. I can say Sawadee Kap and Kap Kun Kap. I can say hello and thank you, which are probably
they get you by, man.
They do get you by,
and I'm pretty sure Sawadee Kap means goodbye as well. It's
does it? Like I was trying to figure it out. Yeah, it
means like greeting, well wish,
kind of like namaste.
Namaste, Namaste. I like namaste.
Namaste is great, man.
Covers a multitude.
It's great. I mean, I love it. I spent 4 months in India, so the namaste is like.
So how's the food? I had a bit of Indian there earlier.
I love it, man.
How does it compare to Thai food?
Just different. I think they're both wonderful in their own ways.
Did you get a bit of Delhi belly?
Oh yeah, man. I was sick. About 3 or 4 weeks into my trip, I was sick for 2 days. Actually, in the first 2 episodes of the podcast, you can hear I have this like cough, and I guess it eventually escalated to a point where I was just pretty much bedridden for a couple days.
No way.
But got better, and since then I've been, knock on wood, been pretty healthy. I think some of it is, I mean, you can go around and try to take all the antibiotics in the world and all these things and protect yourself, isolate yourself, insulate yourself. But there's something to say. Once you get exposed, you're a little bit stronger for the experience, I think. So since then, I've been fairly healthy.
You gotta get dirty, and in Asia especially.
Yeah.
Your tolerance for hygiene needs to come. Your tolerance for hygiene needs to come way down the scale.
Yeah.
You're going to be standing on the street, and some girl's going to be making you a salad, and you're going to be like, "Oh, there's a fly on the end of her plate or whatever," and then
whatever.
She's going to serve it up, and you're going to be like.
You can eat flies
dinner.
here though, and crickets, and there's stands with like. We actually played it. We were playing Kings. Were you there for this?
No.
We were playing it's a drinking game. Kings Cup,
I know, Kings, sure.
Ring of Fire, whatever people call it. We had these super international rules. Basically, everyone in the world has different rules for this game. So we had a group of people from different countries, and we tried to compile the best possible version of the game. And what we did as the penalty for some of the stuff was. People had to eat crickets that someone had bought. So that was fun. That hilarity ensued.
I imagine so.
But yeah, man, I guess I don't want to keep you too long because you gotta.
So to sum up,
You gotta get to the airport.
Thailand's trying to be democratic.
Yeah.
Cricket's not delicious. Irish people rock.
Yeah, awesome. I'm gonna ask you one question.
Okay.
Yes, answer however you want.
Okay.
What is one thing that you would like to do before you die? And it can be anything in the world.
I'd love to cruise around in a big boat. I'd love to take a boat on the Mediterranean and have like my best friends and my family with me. Find little beaches along the coast. Stop off, go to a little sleepy town. Put down a picnic blanket, bottle of wine, some nice local cheese and food, and just take it easy. Then get a surfboard and go surfing nearby, and just hang out, do some fishing, and sail on to the next little town.
That sounds
around.
Actually wonderful. Tell you what, I'm going to put something out there for you, and you don't have to decide right now, but in a month or two, I was talking to some folks in Chiang Mai about this. We were actually thinking about a group of us coming together and buying a relatively inexpensive boat somewhere like in India, cruising around, and then selling it when we get to wherever we're going, somewhere with maybe a different exchange rate, so we can maybe make profit on it.
Oh, cool. And
finance the trip. If you are interested, and you don't have to commit now or anything, but you are absolutely welcome to join our pirate ship.
Yes. Thank you very much. Yo ho ho and a bottle of whiskey.
Exactly. Yo ho ho and a bottle of Jameson. So maybe I'll be seeing you as we cruise around somewhere in this world in a few months.
That would be great.
Sailing the earth. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This is I think, a really interesting subject and perspective. You know, as a Westerner living in Thailand, you have a very good perspective on what's going on, and I think maybe it's good to get this out there. I think so. Cool. Appreciate you coming on, man.
Really nice talking to you, man.
Yeah, and I will. We'll be seeing each other around the bend, most definitely.
And to all the listeners out there, if there's more than 5 of you, woo!
Actually, we have a decent. We're slowly building the audience. You know, this project is it's still the beginning. So this would be, I think, episode 11.
Yeah.
I've been doing it since traveling, so for 3 or 4 months, and right now we've had 800 or so listens, and it's slowly building its audience.
Cool.
I'm excited though. It's just nice to. It's fun to. It's just fun to do, and I'm learning a lot doing it. And I think you'll see where it goes. Who the hell knows? Is it going to be the next big thing? I don't know. But you know what? This is cool for now. But yeah, thanks for coming. Do you have anything to plug, by the way?
Plug?
Yeah, anything you want to promote?
No.
Okay.
I just hope this isn't my last broadcast ever, because I'm taking a flight with Lion Air today, and it was like the cheapest flight, and my Thai friend told me it's basically a bus with wings. So I have an image of these live chickens flying around the cockpit,
flying in a rickety airplane during a political
these could be my last
questionable
words
situation
on Earth ever.
I don't think so. I think you still have more to do on this planet.
I love you, Mom.
Well, we'll immortalize you forever on my little SoundCloud page.
Okay, awesome.
All right, well, thanks for coming on, man, and safe travels.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, I'm Mike Margulies with Walking the Earth podcast, and we will catch you next time.